Man, oh man, let me tell you something. Every once in a while, you see something that just flips your whole world upside down. You think you know what's what, who's who, and then bam! Life hits you with a plot twist you never saw coming. It all started on a regular Tuesday at one of those big, fancy gyms. You know the type. Mirrors everywhere, weights clanking, and everyone looking like they were chiseled out of granite by the gods themselves. The air is thick with ambition, sweat, and the quiet hum of treadmills going nowhere fast. It's a serious place for serious people doing serious workouts. But on this particular day, the vibe was about to get a serious shakeup. Through the glass doors shuffled a character who looked like he'd taken a wrong turn on his way to a comedy audition. This wasn't your typical gym-goer. He was a cleaner, decked out in a baggy, ill-fitting uniform, looking a little lost and a lot out of place. But it was the mop that really caught your eye. This wasn't just any old mop. It looked heavier than my last grocery bill, and trust me, that was heavy. He hauled it in like he was dragging an anchor. Now this cleaner, let's call him Anatoly, he didn't just stay in the background. Oh no, that wasn't his style. He decided it was time for some audience participation. He wandered over to a couple of incredibly fit women who were doing some sort of complicated core exercise. He watched them for a second, scratching his head, looking completely baffled. Then he leans in, real serious, and asks, "Do you guys eat protein? Every day?" When they said yes, his eyes went wide. "My mom told me protein is bad," he exclaimed. They tried to explain that protein is natural, like chicken and beef. Anatoly listened intently, nodding along. "I eat eggs, cucumber, bread, and a bit of ketchup," he offered, as if this was the secret diet of champions. The whole conversation was so ridiculous, so out of place, that you couldn't help but smile. The bodybuilders in the gym were a sight to behold. These were mountains of men, disciplined and powerful, their faces etched with the kind of concentration that could bend steel. When Anatoly the cleaner started his routine, their reactions were priceless. He'd approach a group of guys lifting heavy, and with the straightest face you've ever seen, he'd try to correct their form. No, he'd say. "You are doing it wrong." Then he would demonstrate his better technique, which usually involved him flailing around with his mop. The bodybuilders would just stand there, barbells in hand, completely dumbfounded. Their brains were trying to process what they were seeing. A man who looked like he couldn't lift a bag of groceries was trying to give them advice on lifting hundreds of pounds. One of the best moments was when he told a particularly large dude, "You skinny, this is too much for you." The man just looked down at his own massive arms, then back at the featherweight cleaner, and you could see the gears in his head grinding to a halt. Every great performance has a turning point, that one moment where everything changes. For Anatoly the cleaner, this moment had a name: helicopter. He had been hovering around a guy doing some serious work with a barbell. After a bit of back and forth, he announced, "I know better exercise, helicopter." He grabbed the barbell, and for a second he did his usual clumsy act, pretending it was too heavy. Then everything changed. With a smooth, effortless motion, he lifted the barbell up to his shoulders. There was no strain, no struggle. It was like he was lifting a broomstick. "And then you go like helicopter," he said calmly. He started to spin. Not a slow, clumsy spin, but a fast, controlled rotation, the weighted barbell whirling around him like the blades of a helicopter. He was a blur of motion, perfectly balanced, completely in command of a weight that would crush an ordinary person. The gym-goers' jaws collectively dropped. The laughter stopped, replaced by gasps of pure, unadulterated shock. This wasn't clumsiness. This wasn't an accident. This was something else entirely. The illusion was shattered. The clumsy, confused cleaner was gone. In his place stood a man of impossible strength. After the helicopter stunt, the mask was off. Anatoly wasn't done yet. He walked over to his trusty mop, the one everyone had seen him fumbling with all day. Anatoly picked it up, not with two hands, but with one. He held the 32 kilogram, that's over 70 pounds, mop out to his side, parallel to the floor like it was a feather duster. The reactions were immediate and explosive. A woman who had been laughing at his protein jokes just a few minutes earlier now had her hands over her mouth, her eyes wide with disbelief. The big bodybuilder he had called skinny just stood there, shaking his head back and forth, a slow grin spreading across his face. He wasn't just strong, He was playfully strong. He started using the heavy mop for other exercises, all with a single hand. He did bicep curls, tricep extensions, and even some kind of strange dance-like movements, all while maintaining perfect control over the unwieldy object. He was a powerlifter, but he was also a performer. He had spent the last hour convincing everyone he was the weakest person in the room, only to reveal that he might just be the strongest. The reveal was more than just a prank. It was a piece of gym theater. Once the initial shock wore off, a new wave of emotion swept through the gym. Pure, unadulterated joy. The quiet gasps and stunned silence erupted into laughter and applause. People started cheering him on. "Go on, man!" someone yelled from across the room. People started to gather around, pulling out their phones to record the unbelievable sight. They wanted to capture this moment, to have proof of the day the skinny cleaner defied the laws of physics. Anatoly, playing to his audience, hammed it up. The bodybuilders he had teased earlier were now his hype men. The guy he'd accused of having bad form came over, slapped him on the back, and just laughed, shaking his head in respect. There was no ego, no resentment, just a shared appreciation for the incredible prank they had all been a part of. The crowd went wild not just because a skinny guy was strong, but because he reminded them that life is more fun when you break the rules, share a laugh, and celebrate the unexpected surprises that come your way. After the spectacle, when the cheers died down a little, people got curious. They wanted to know his secret. This is when the cleaner, the real Vladimir Shmundenko behind the Anatoly persona, shared his philosophy. And it wasn't what you'd expect from an elite powerlifter. "Maybe you'll be shocked, but I don't like workouts," he said with such honesty that everyone leaned in. He explained that the secret isn't spending endless hours in the gym. For his goals, to be strong and athletic like a Viking, all you need is 3 workouts a week. 3. And each session should only be about an hour and a half. The key, he stressed, isn't the volume. It's the intelligence behind the training. It's about having the right plan, the right periodization, and focusing on compound movements that give you the most bang for your buck. This was a revolutionary idea in a place where more is often the unspoken rule. His message was simple. Train to live, don't live to train. Your goal should be to build a body that is capable, functional, and strong, not one that is constantly exhausted and broken down from overtraining. The lesson from the world's strongest cleaner wasn't just about lifting weights. It was about lifting the burden of expectation. When you boil it all down, this whole thing wasn't just a prank about physical strength. It was a masterclass in the power of attitude. Anatoly walked into a serious, intimidating environment not with arrogance, but with humor and positivity. By making himself appear foolish, he disarmed everyone. If there's one final lesson to take away, it's this. Never, ever, ever judge a book by its cover. We look at someone's job, their appearance, their age, and we think we have them figured out. We forget that every single person is living a life as vivid and complex as our own, filled with hidden talents and surprising depths. Everyone has a helicopter move hidden inside them, a surprising skill or a hidden passion that you would never guess from the outside. The real magic of life happens when we look past the surface and give people the chance to show us who they really are. So be a little more like Anatoly. Bring some fun and positivity wherever you go. Don't be afraid to laugh at yourself. Look for the hidden strengths in others and in yourself. Stay strong, enjoy the journey, and make it your mission to surprise yourself and the world every single day. Let's go, buddy.